Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and it's our Fun Draw Friday. And today we're going to be drawing the Juggernaut. So, if you don't know who the Juggernaut is, he's Kane Marco, Professor X's stepbrother from X-Men. And we are going to start by drawing a somewhat circular shape. Okay, and then from there, just going to build out where his helmet connects to his body. And I'm going to try my best to darken this up so you can see it, but I don't want to go too dark because then I run the risk of not being able to erase. So I'm going to do my best. So right now I'm just kind of building out body shape, things like that. So like right now I'm doing a chest. Let's see, let's take this chest out just a little bit further, like that. Take the chest down here and kind of put it in that way. Right, I'm going to build out shoulders, give him kind of a dynamic pose. Let's get that big old bicep in here. Working that tricep. Down to the forearm. Now I have that bicep in here. Let's start doing the body. Erase this line so I can see the chest better. Okay, so I'm going to come down this way. Now we got kind of a twist in the body, so let's bring this back out. That way it shows my little twist, like his body's turned this way. Some other basic things to put in here so I don't forget. Be a band around the tricep, bicep. Like that. And let's see. So my bicep's gonna come out. Let's put like kind of gauntlet over the arm. Sometimes when there's things that are just blocking muscle, I just put in the whole shape. Looks like right here this will be a thumb. Just kind of building his hand out that way. And then we can use that shape. Help us with the rest of the hand right there. Then I can just kind of go across. This will be that little band that he got going around his hand. It's got like almost like his versions of like having brass knuckles. Like that. So let's get a finger going right here. And that, of course, will be next to another finger. And let's get those kind of wrinkled shapes in there for the finger. This, of course, is just the edge of that. Put another finger right in here. So as this turns down, we want to run that finger this way. And it'll kind of be that space in between the two. Let's go kind of do like a knuckle right there. And that'll kind of be like the edge of that band. So make that a little bit bigger. Right through here. Like that. So our finger's that big. Let's extend our finger here. And a little bit taller there. And then we'll have our pinky come out right there. I think the problem is we have this finger out maybe too far. Maybe that's what's throwing me off. It's going to come up this way. I'll take that down. Right inside of there. We can adjust this. That might be a bit too wide. Hands are always very particular with me. I don't necessarily struggle, but tend to be a perfectionist when it comes to hands, so I can get it, looking as good as possible. Now we can come out here. We can finish that band. We can kind of have that kind of come into this area here. Like that. And that will allow us to bulk up the forearm into the tricep region. Bicep on this side looks good. This area here just feel like it needs to be a little bit bigger. And the reason for that is we're trying to basically justify the existence of his big old hands as well too. Extend that shoulder out a little bit more. So let's get an edge going for this band. And take it down just a little bit further. So just clean that up. So we have something like that. All right, so now let's do the other side. Build out our shoulders. Let's kind of, I'm going to tuck the hand up over here on this side. And we got to get that going across. That going like that, and then so we just want to come past the finger just a little bit. Cut that down. And we can build the pinky and the ring finger. Something along those lines there. And with that, we can run our bicep. Right here. Kind of running out of space over here on the side. Probably should have drew him a little bit shorter. But it's okay. We'll work with what we got. Let's curve that around. And we want kind of an edge. Right inside of here. Let's come out this way. And start curving that in. Like that. I'm going to build up the knuckles here. And we're going to get that hand shape going as best we can. Put a knuckle like right there. We'll run that down. To the hand. Another knuckle. And from there we'll take that out. And from the thumb here, about right here, we're going to take the other side of the forearm. And of course that tricep will come out there. And the arm out that way. Okay, now we kind of have his belt here. So let's take that around. And come out here to his leg. Now he's got really big legs and they're kind of coming towards us, so that's why I'm kind of building it up pretty big. Let's see. I kind of run down. I'm just putting in some muscle lines just so I can see where I'm going with the shapes. Knees down there. Let's see. What kind of that area for the pelvic region? Bring his legs out that way. This one's going to be a little bit farther back, so it's going to be a little smaller. Bring that belt out a little bit more. Right. And it should be enough. Some of these areas I'm just going to darken up anyway. So now we can start coming in and adding some of this detail. Now I'm going to look at some of this and see how it flows. I may extend it out some. So like even with the helmet here, I'm going to extend that out. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to try to build up face. So we have that opening, the mouth and nose area. And then I can kind of think about like what I want actually showing. So like I can have the mouth come out this way. We can look at that. And then I'll run that way. And then I can get some teeth. And I'm just putting in like these little tiny gum line parts in there. And now that my mouth is in place, it looks like that. Now I can come in here above that, and we're going to add in slots for our eyes. Work in an edge here. Now all I'm going to do is make the eyeball visible. It's like a lot of that stuff, some of it's just going to get colored in dark or black with my ink. So let's take that out. Cut that down some. There. Again, one edge. So I have those eyes in there. And I can come out here and start putting in little details, like the little pins that go in on the side of the helmet. Kind of keeps it in there. I'm going to try my best to keep it like kind of even. Okay, let's come down this way. Another one right inside of here. And we'll do another right here. And we'll do one here. And one here. Okay. So now that I kind of have everything set up, now I can come in here and start adding details through light and shadow and things like that, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refine this area. And trust me when I tell you, there's plenty of ways to do this. So you can create your stuff however after following along best works for you. So I'm putting like an edge right there. Again, all I want is the teeth showing. So I'm just going to darken up this entire area right inside of there and just leaving, like I said, that edge will give me the hint of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to darken this area around the helmet, and we're going to kind of sketch in a bit of a shadow here. And again, I tend to go more for what's looking cool as opposed to what's 100% accurate to do. And that is just a personal choice on my part. So let's refine the eyes here. And we're going to fill that in. We kind of lost that a little bit. Okay, so you can see now I'm just kind of highlighting the areas that I want visible. So I'm just kind of filling this in for now. Clean up some of that. And this is just, like I could just hatch that in there, but this is just going to show me when I ink the picture what I want in there. And how much is actually being, blocked off. So I'm going for a much darker lighting around the helmet. So again, that's all that will be visible, and then when I come back in and ink all that, it'll stand out even more. Okay, so let's kind of fine our line work here. Got that helmet. And I'm going to come down in here into these shapes for the bolts. And we're going to kind of do the same thing. And just fill that stuff in. Like I said, once we work with the ink, it'll stand out a lot more. So you can see how we're starting to build up some detail here. And I'm just going to get like basic foundations. When I start inking it, it'll have a lot more to it. And we got some change in lighting here. So we want to kind of mix things up a bit, so that it's not just all the same going through. Again, I'm going to beef up the line a little bit. And add in some shadow shapes. Get this area right here under the chin. I'm just kind of refining the lineup. Okay, let's build this circle. And we'll just continue to go around the image like that. Alright, so we'll just continue moving down. And I'm just kind of making these kind of wavy shapes so that it, looks more round. And close that off. Darken those lines there. Okay, and kind of come down in here. I know I want to work the chest a little bit with some detail. Again, using my shadows to kind of help me just define the areas that I want. So like here when I get to the chest, because of where my lighting's going, a lot of this will end up being blocked off. So I can really kind of cut into my chest muscle a little bit. And again, I'm just going to kind of lightly fill that in just because, like I said, I'll be inking over everything anyway. Now up here towards top, I want to leave a little glare for some rim lighting. And like I said, this is really just helping me kind of shape everything out. So I know where and what to fill in. I can come down here on my chest here. Kind of darken that area up. Okay, and I can continue that, like back here. Like I said, I'm just kind of loosely filling it in so that when I go over with my ink, it's not too heavy on that. Okay, so I can kind of refine that line there. Maybe just for a little bit of like a leathery metallic look, we'll put some right there. And just kind of do that down the chest line. Again, just kind of staying loose and sketchy. And like I said, there's many ways to do this. It's just the method that I'm using at the time. So let's kind of ingrain a little bit of shadow here on the shoulder. Again, I can kind of refine some of my line work just so it shows up better for you. So, like, this is not, like, if I was to shade with a pencil, this is not the method I would do. But this is just how I like to fill things in when I'm going to do inking. So again, I want to leave a little bit for some glare. So you can see those two spots right there. And then I want to kind of form the muscle a little bit. So again, I'm just using shadows to help me form the things that I want visible on there. And again, that's just for the purpose of the shading. So again, like right here, I'm going to want to leave a little glare, so I'll just kind of do like these little jagged lines for now. And then what I'll do is I'll leave a little bit right down here on the bottom edge. And we'll take that to like right here. And we'll just fill that in. And again, it's just to let me know where things are at. So like some of these lines, you can see I'm refining right in here. We can add in a few extra glare points. Okay. So again, you can see it's kind of looking rough. It's not, meant to be be all ghetto. I'm going to add in a little line up here on the helmet. Okay, and then I want to kind of work in that same kind of shadow work. So again, just thinking about the muscles and how much light they're actually going to get. It's like that down in there. Probably add in a little bit of visible muscle right there. Maybe a little more right there. The rest of it, I'm going to come in and we're going to shape another part. Again, I can lightly have a line connecting. And like right down here, I'm going to leave like a visible edge on the belt there. And just kind of shade the rest of that in. So I have a huge space of the muscle on that side that's being shaded. I'm going to come down in here. I'm going to work out this other side of the body. So we have that there. I want to kind of bring that out some more. Kind of fill that in. And on some of these, we want a visible kind of muscle shown just to kind of give a sense of the obliques a little bit. So just certain spots, just kind of leaving them open. Now, traditionally, if you were doing this for like a comic book inker, you would want to use, a lot of the hatching tricks and stuff like that. But since I'll be the one inking it, I'll kind of know what to add and what not to. So more like that. So I'm using a lot of the shadow and the silhouette to kind of, honestly, for lack of a better term, to be lazy with it and not have to detail so much. So next thing, we're just going to kind of cover up parts of the belt. And again, I'm going to leave like a slight edge for visible area. just like that. Okay. And now I want to come in and just really start defining those leg muscles. And what that'll do is it'll help convey some like roundness to the muscles themselves. So you can see how that's kind of shaping the thigh. And then from down in here, we got a big portion of leg here. And again, I'm just kind of lightly filling that in so that I have a place to put everything. And then down in here, just silhouette out the rest of that. Let's erase a little bit and stretch that down. Like right into there. Okay, and then from here, it's going to come back this way. And I want to get some of that knee right here. Like that. We could probably cut that off some. Just like that. And what I can do is I can kind of utilize this shape here. And we can take that back right here into that muscle. Yeah, and kind of keep it close. And let's kind of warp this muscle a little bit. Like that there. And now we're starting to get down into a region where a lot of it's just going to be silhouetted, so I may not really touch that at all, just because I know it's just all going to be black anyway. But there are a few spots that I want to hit up, just so I know to leave them alone. So like I'm going to put a little edge right here, a little glare. I know I want to take some of that in there just so I can get a sense of, the bottom. And then right here, probably leave that area alone. And then we have a tiny bit right here because I'm just going to kind of stop it right down in there. And then we'll put another line right in there, and you'll see what I'll do with it later. Okay, so now I want to think about other things, like with the overlap and what's being blocked off. So like up here in the arm, helping me define that shape right there. We'll have a few little spots right back here too, just to help me get the turn of the arm where it's running right in to the forearm over here. Turn that out. We can kind of refine our line there. And turn that out. Okay. So now we're getting to the forearm guard area. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to refine my hand lines so that I can start adding in my shadows on here. And just kind of thinking about where I want some openings. And then I know I want my glare down in here. Okay. So you can see how he's kind of coming to life a little bit. So there's a few other areas that we can get some line work in just to have a little bit more breakup of the open space. And just work all of that right down there. Okay. So again, it gives us a sense of metal. Not 100%. I come in here. Add in some shadow in some places. Not everything has to be, silhouetted out. Just enough to give us the definitions of what we need. Again, I'm just going to refine that line first. Get a couple inking spots up right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and refine our fingers here. Just kind of thicken that area up. Let's get this in here for a fingernail. Start refining this finger. Again, we'll get our fingernail right in there. Kind of thicken that up. And I'll refine. Let's see, we'll probably add a little something there. The rest of it we can just kind of refine to a point. And refine that finger right there. Excuse me. And take that out right there. Add in a couple lines here and there. Just kind of get some of the finger shape right here. Just like that. And what we also can do is like right here, get a little bit of a calf shape. Again, just the areas that I want visible, because the rest is just going to be filled in. So I'm just going to kind of mark that a little closer. This area here, get a little bit of an edge. I apologize. Got a little phlegm build up today, so try not to cough in your ear too much. All right. Now we do need to fill in some areas in here. Again, just to kind of give us that sense of metal. Again, it just gives us the tiniest sense of it without going too overboard. Okay, now let's shift over to this last area. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to define the shoulder a little bit more. Now I'm going to have a little bit more of a glare right here. More shoulder exposure. Okay, and I can kind of just take that down. Let's go ahead, we're going to refine our finger a little bit so that I can go and build around, because a lot of this is just going to get silhouetted in. Okay, so you can see how that's kind of helped cut in a little bit, and then I can get maybe a tiny bit more muscle definition right there. Now, as far as my thumb goes, we're actually kind of turned inward. So I'm going to shape it that way. Again, just kind of refine out the rest of it. Maybe add some little bit of shadow coverage there because it's coming from the thumb. In between the fingers, I can kind of round those out with kind of like a Y shape. And again, just do the same kind of thing. And even with that band part right here, and that kind of comes through, I'm only going to leave a little bit of that exposed on that inside area. There we go. So you can see how that's just defined just a little bit more. And then right in here, we should actually have a little bit of thumb coming out right there, so it looks like it's wrapped out from underneath. And then again on this side, I'm going to leave a little bit of line work right here on the edge. And then from there I can start defining some of my more metallic areas. And probably run like this, kind of like an hourglass shape right here. Again, just you can see by just adding a little bit here and there, we're kind of getting that metallic look to it. And then we can just hit up the rest down to about right here. I'm going to leave that little bit of glare there too. And just fill that right in. Okay. Now when we're talking our knuckles here, we're going to kind of define those a little bit more with some shape language here. So again, using a silhouette to kind of take me where I want it to go. So something more like that. And then out here, and kind of cut that in a little bit and see how it gives it a little bit more depth. So again, I'm looking like I'm putting a lot of detail, but I'm really just staying pretty loose with it. I'm not, like I said, going crazy with it because I am going to be inking over it. Okay, and so like right in here, like I can add a really big glare spot where the light would be shining in. Also back in here, let's just go ahead and refine that area. And we can have a little bit of some metallic shadow right there. Can work out another bit. Right inside there. And let's get a little bit of reflection just right here, as well as here. just kind of fill in the rest of it like that. Okay, now I want to come up and we want to work this end here. Okay, so I have a little bit that I've probably turned down right here into the hand. Okay, and then we can kind of again just kind of work in some metallic shadows on the band itself. And then we can just kind of silhouette out the rest of that area. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to clear the throat. It's starting to sound raspy. And now comes the fun part, okay? This is where we're going to start inking everything and bringing it to life, okay? Now, you don't have to do this part. If you just want to leave it at this, I appreciate you stopping by. But I am going to continue on. So the first thing I'm going to do is start outlining my shapes. And I'm going to pull out some on some of these. Again, just to kind of help give it some shape. So it's just going to be completely dark right there. Now, when we're working this outside area, you can see some of these areas I want to be really thick. So I'm actually filling them in. And of course I can change that line weight by just picking it up a little and not going so hard with it. Okay. So like some of this stuff I want to make sure I really hit up those eyes. So then when I go in with my pencil and erase it out, the parts that I want visible, will be visible. Because like I said, all that's going to get filled in. So again, I'm going to take care on my eyes and be extra careful with that edge right there. Okay. So now I can take the rest of this and just start filling it in. And what I'll do throughout is we'll just kind of talk a little bit too while I'm filling stuff in, and you know, explain things if they need to be explained. But you know, my main thing is that I always try to get across to everyone is that good art takes time, and you should always be learning as well. Like trying to master something, I am never going to be perfect, but I will continue to attempt to achieve things that I'm never done. Like I usually don't shade like this, like with this super detailed, like, you know, Jim Lee or David Finch or you know, like a gritty DC style too, where they get real heavy with the ink. I don't do super well with that, so hence why I'm doing it in this video. It's also something you can follow along with and learn, but at the same time, it is practice for me on attempting to get better at a more detailed comic book art style. And I'll show you what this looks like in a minute. Once I clean up the pencil, it'll be a lot more clear. And again, I'm not using some fancy smancy inking pen. This is literally just a fine tip Sharpie marker. Sorry, I'm trying to be real careful around this eye. But yeah, it's just a fine tip Sharpie marker. It's nothing special. You can get like 3 of them in a pack for $4. Just depends where you go. Donald General usually has it cheaper. Depends on what kind part of the country you're in. Um, Obviously, things cost different in different states. So for me, it's about $4 for 3 of them. So that's not bad. Once I get done filling this in, I can erase out that area and you can see the parts that should be standing out are standing out, while the rest is just kind of silhouetted in place. So now that I have that filled in, I'm going to let that dry for a little bit so that when I erase, it doesn't smudge everything everywhere. So I'm going to just continue with the rest of the image. So what we'll do is we'll probably finish out this neck piece, and then I can go in and erase the face and show you the parts that should be visible. Okay, so you can see how it's detailing it out a little bit more. And I just kind of keep going around, and I'm literally just kind of tracing over the areas that I had already blocked out with the pencil. And then adding, anything that I deem, necessary to add. So like this little bit of hatching in here can go a long way to adding a little bit of a metallic look to it. And it doesn't have to go over the whole thing. You can just kind of put it in spots that it looks best. Again, I go from the what looks cool method, which, I'm sure if there's a lot of artists who are watching this, you're probably like, what? Why are you doing that? But that's just how I do. At the end of the day, art is art. And if you're not doing it for a job and it doesn't need to look a specific way, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Whenever you're doing your own stuff, don't hinder yourself to, it has to look this way, because it's not really necessary for it to. Most important thing I can say is, like, even at the end of the day, let's say I'm not like happy with this picture, at least I can say I finished the picture, because that's the number one thing I used to do back in the day that just bugged bugged me to death. Was I would start all these projects, and I would never finish them. And I know with kind of today's uh, TikTok society, if a video is not a minute to 10 minutes long, then nobody's going to take the time to watch it. But I like sticking with this long form stuff because you can actually see step by step my process, why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. Because for me, back when I was learning how to draw, I was very visual and always kind of curious as to why an artist would do the things they do, like certain strokes with the pen, doing digital art, what kind of reasoning or logic was behind the artist choosing to put a line or use a specific brush. Okay, so now that I have that part of the helmet filled in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I was talking about. So I'm going to come in here and erase out the face area now. And now you can see the focus is just on the eyes and the mouth themselves. Now I could have just as easily just left all that white, but if I was to go in and color it, I would want them to see the eyes that were in there. Okay, and we're going to eventually do that with this entire image, is just go over it with the eraser. So that's nice and clean. Okay, so you can see how with putting ink on, it's now popping a lot more. Now what you can do is the same thing I'm doing right now. Let's say you don't have an ink pen or something to do this with. You can still do this with your pencil. Like you can put more pressure and really darken those areas in. Now you're going to really burn through your pencil. But you can still come up with the same result. The only problem you're going to run into is certain places where you put your hand. You may find yourself smudging your pencil around a little bit, but I mean, you're still going to get, you can take an eraser and kind of, clean those areas up. So now, just kind of shaping the shadow, filling that in. Now, this is where having the proper ink pen would be appropriate because you can just as easily like if I had like a brush pen, like something bigger, I'd cover a lot more area without really burning through my fine nipped pin here. Usually what I tend to do is try to block and section certain areas off because then in my mind it feels like it's going faster. But at the end of the day, it's still going to take the same amount of time for all of it. Alright, let's continue to move this way. I'm doing is trying to get this whole, a lot of the big areas is what I'm going for. So if I am going to burn through this ink, I can at least have mass majority of it done. So, like I said, you can see how this process, how long it's taking. And if you are still here during all this time, I appreciate it. That means you are wanting to learn and wanting to get better. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about subscribers for me. I used to be an art teacher. After I got out of the military, and I taught students, and I love teaching. Um, and I look at everybody who is watching these videos as a student. And honestly, that's why I ask y'all to get involved. Like, this channel is for you. It's not for me. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to teach. And it's guided by you. Like, this is just something I came up with on a whim. Um, but if you leave comments and ask questions, and you look at some of my past videos, if you're new, um, I take viewer requests. What do you want to learn? What do you want to get better at? I have no problems going in there and making a video for you because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's for you. I'm doing this for you, not for me. I mean, part of it's for me because I get some practice, and it's more like I guess you'd say it's just more like a hobby with the benefit of being able to teach every now and then. Just remember, though, when it comes to inking, again, there's tons of ways to do this. Again, a good person to go watch if you want to really get into detail and learn more, or just learn from somebody who's been professionally drawing and inking in comic books for 30 years. David Finch is a great place to start. And if you're starting with me, I feel honored. And if you're sticking with me, I feel even more honored. But I am understanding that I am not a master of anything. I just like to draw, and I'm just passing on what I've learned and experienced to really, um, help those who are wanting to succeed and become better at something. Um, but he really has a similar kind of in-game method of like what I just did, except uh, the way he sees anatomy and can just almost chisel it out of there. It's pretty amazing. But just like with what I'm doing, like if you watch one of his live stream videos, I mean, it takes him 2 hours, 3 hours to draw something sometimes. And you should take the time to watch it, just like I'm doing here. I mean, this is a chance for you to see the whole step, go through step by step, get an appreciation for how much has to go into what it is that you're doing. And at the end of the day, the more reps you get in, the more styles of different people that you learn from, the better you're going to get at implementing and finding your own style. And obviously, if you got the general idea of what it is that I'm doing, I understand if you don't hang around for the whole video, but I'm talking to those who are just really new to art and just trying to find a different way to find themselves in their artwork. Then I hope you are sticking around for the long haul. I live streamed the other day. Nobody really showed up, but don't be ever if I am randomly live streaming or I send these videos here. Don't be afraid to ask. There's no such thing. Because I used to be a teacher. There's no such thing as a unimportant question or curiosity. And it doesn't. I'm not above teaching anything. If you want to learn, like I love. Don't get me wrong. So don't beat me up in the comments on this. I love anime. but at the same time, it's not my. I don't love drawing anime. It's just not a style that I like to draw. I love to watch it, but it's just not my cup of tea when it comes to drawing various things. But that doesn't mean that I don't know how to do it and that I don't want to teach you anything on it. If you want to learn something that's anime specific, let me know. Leave me a comment. I'll make a video on it. If you want to do more realism, let me know. Leave a comment. I'll make a video on it. And I'll be honest too. If you ask a question of something that I absolutely don't know, I'll tell you, hey, I don't know, but guess what? I'll do some research and still make a video on it anyway, and then it's like practice for me. And no one's saying you have to be a jack of all trades in art. Like you can find your niche and be very good at that. Um, just don't ever let somebody tell you that whatever style that you're drawing in is not art. Now, with a caveat to that, I will push back. There are some forms of art that I just kind of sit there and go, wow, that's art. But that's the great thing about art is it's subjective. You are allowed to think or feel whatever you want about art. So, like for instance, if I don't like abstract art and don't think it's that amazing, that's my opinion. But the person standing next to me that likes it and thinks it's amazing and loves trying to decipher what in the world's going on in there, that's their prerogative too. I'm not in a position to tell them what to like. But you should always pursue the thing in art that you love doing the most, and that'll help you out in the long run. Don't spend your time doing something that you don't love. Now, are there basics of things like I did the thing on exaggerated facial expressions, but I'm about to do some videos on anatomy and the importance of it, especially when it comes to gesture drawing. For those of you that are inspiring character artists, you have to have a knowledge of anatomy. Now, does that mean you have to be like perfectly proportioned every time? No. Because sometimes you can fake it enough that people are so enthralled by whatever it is you're doing that they may not even notice a mistake that you did. And kind of thicken that area out. Okay. So again, you can see how we have this sloppy mess over here. And now we have something that's a little bit more clean with the inking lines. Okay. Like I said, it'll look really nice and clean once I erase, all the pencil stuff off of it. And sometimes, just depending on the image and what's going on, sometimes I'll bounce around different areas. Sometimes I'll stay on a path, like I started working over towards this arm, so I'm just kind of stuck going down this arm. And again, it's to each their own. On how you choose to do something. So you can see how that area is now going to stand out more once I get that all filled in, and you'll be able to see what it was I was going for. and I just continue to fill it in as I go. Honestly, if any of you are curious, especially if you're new, I got my start as my dad bought me my first comic book back in the late 80s, early 90s, and there was a run they were doing on the X-Men called The Executioner Song. It's where, spoiler alert, Strife, who is a clone of Cable, pretends to be Cable and ends up attempting to assassinate Professor Xavier, and there's this whole mission with them trying to figure out what was going on. And I had been given part 3 by my father, and it was just some of the coolest artwork I'd ever seen. It had Wolverine, Cable, and Bishop in it, and I just was enthralled. I started tracing stuff out of that comic book like immediately, and then from there just found a desire to want to create artwork like that. And again, I'm now much, much older and still learning stuff. I still haven't mastered anything. Sometimes I can be intimidated to try stuff. Like, I would love to have a mixture of, something along the styles of Joe Madeira or Joe Mad, that's what a lot of people call him. Um, I think it's really cool artwork, as well as Humberto Ramos. It's one of my favorites. Maybe even a little bit of Ludo Lullaby in there. It's a French comic artist. Just does really good work. And don't get me wrong, there's tons of great artists with great different styles, but those are just the styles that I'm attracted to and want to pursue. It's like I mentioned David Finch. He does beautiful work, and I would love to have an original drawing of his. But again, that super detailed look is just not my forte or what I'm interested in. Now, like Joe Mad has super detailed images and stuff. It's just he has more of a Western anime kind of look to it, and it's super detailed. And if you're curious what I'm talking about, if you ever heard of Battle Chasers, Darksiders, his run on X-Men, Age of Apocalypse, several issues of that stuff afterwards. Avengers, Ultimates. I think he did Savage Wolverine, and I can't remember the name of the Spider-Man arc he did, where Red Hulk. I know it wasn't Savage Spider-Man; it was something else. I don't know if it was Spectacular or what, but anyway, just his line work and the way he designs and draws his characters is like a mixture of that exaggerated with um, or stylized with this kind of look going for it. You can see I'm starting to jump back over again. So I do that. And then Humberto Ramos just has, I love the way he draws his characters, like faces, especially facial expressions. He's probably my favorite Spider-Man artist of all time. And as far as Ludo Lullaby, dude does a great, like, he's very inspired by anime, but he does a great job of mixing in uh, like silhouettes to where Like you can tell it saved him a lot of time just having a whole area be black and silhouetted, but still, like, like this whole back leg I'm fixing to do is just dark. Like he'll do stuff like that that's really a time saver, but still at the end of the day it makes it look cool too. And he's really good at coloring his comics too digitally. Does a really nice job of that too. So there's a lot of people I'm trying to study and learn from. Again, just to get better myself personally. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stay with you and finish up this arm. And again, I don't like trying to go past 2 hours on a video. Um, but it's probably gonna take me another 30 minutes to finish up this thing that I'm working on with Juggernaut. I don't want to sit here and bore you too much with it because now that I've done large swaths of the body, you kind of get the idea. So what I'll do is after I finish this arm, I'm probably going to just time lapse the rest of it. Like I said, you should have an understanding of what it is I'm doing by now. If not, let me know in the comments, and then I won't skip it next time. But again, I'm trying not to bore everyone to death. So like I said, we'll finish off this arm together, but then the rest is just going to be a nice little time lapse. Maybe I'll put some music in there, I don't know. You can see by having these like heavy blacked out and silhouetted areas, it saves me a lot of time as far as having to add a super amount of detail in something. Excuse me, sorry about the squeakiness in my chair. One of these days I won't be lazy and I'll put some WD-40 on it. Try to figure out how to make it not squeaky anymore. So just being very careful through these thin areas because I don't want to overtake the parts. And the other reason why I'm going to kind of just time lapse the rest is, like I said, the rest is just a good chunk of just me filling stuff in black. There's really not a whole lot left to it, but to do it. So again, I'm being very careful right here because I have that edge. And I don't want to bleed over into it so that I don't accidentally not have a clear glare space. I'm doing my best to stay close to the original areas and ideas of what I had for filling in some of these spots. So again, you can see how having a brush pen would be a lot easier to fill in a lot of these heavy areas. And I'm going to do my best right here. This is where it gets hard, is when I get on the edge of my paper. I kind of drew them a little too big. So I have to kind of squeeze that in there. So that looks okay. It's going to take that. There we go. It was a little challenging to get down in there. Now, I know if you look at mine, you'll notice there's like a lot less of the hatching stuff. Again, that's something I'm still practicing on, like where the appropriate place to put them. Because sometimes when I watch videos on like inkers and stuff, um, I don't know, man. They just talk about, you know, well, I put this here, but not like why. Like they just kind of do, and that's where I kind of adopted the whole. After you practice it enough, you just kind of do what looks cool. And so I'm sure those out there who like the hatching a lot more are probably a little disappointed I don't have more in there, but like I said, I kind of lean more towards the having more places silhouetted off instead. So I'm almost done with this hand, and then I'm going to do the time lapse. Again, just being very careful to match up with what I have. Again, we got to squeeze in here. On this book edge. And come out here this edge because I want to go ahead and get this last little bit here. And we're back on track. Alright, so I'm just going to finish up this little bit right here. I appreciate you stopping by. I really do. Again, it's not the end of the video, but it's the end of me talking. I really appreciate you hanging out with a couple hours that this was. Like I said, you're only going to get better if you do so and continue to appreciate the process. Other than that, like I said, I'm just going to time lapse this. I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you like the end result. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see next or what you want to learn. Other than that, remember to have a great day and remember to keep sketching, and I will see you in the next one. All right? Bye.